Now, the latest from ITV News Central in the East Midlands.
Hello, welcome to ITV News Central in the East Midlands. On the programme tonight, police release new CCTV following a shooting in Leicester which left 2 men in hospital.
Also tonight, the baby from Nottingham whose jaundice wasn't diagnosed because tests don't pick up certain conditions on non-white skin.
They just quickly assumed that if one look of Jackson and me, he would be Caucasian, which I think it was very naive of him.
Campaigners in the East Midlands continue to press ahead for a multi-million-pound upgrade on the A46 in Nottinghamshire.
Sport is going to be brilliant tonight because I've done what Jamie Vardy did. He punched himself in the face and Leicester won. I'll tell you more in a bit.
Plus, we'll have not one but 2 award winners tonight, a head teacher from Leicester and the schoolboy who's won a world scooter title.
And across the East Midlands, with these low pressure systems dotted around the UK, we're never far away from rain. And with the air temperature dropping, we could see some frost and ice. Join me later for more.
Good evening. A second man has been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder after the shooting of 2 people in Leicester. It happened last Wednesday evening.
For more on this now, we can cross to our correspondent Nancy Cole, who's live at the scene for us. Nancy, almost a week on, how are people there feeling about this?
Well, Alison, Evington Road behind me is a vibrant part of community life here. There are eateries, there are restaurants, local businesses and cafes that work well into the evening. And it's why what happened last week has left people living nearby reeling. Well, it was last Wednesday night at around 11:20 that 2 men were shot and injured as they walked down the road. And it has left many people that we've spoken to this afternoon saying that they do feel worried and concerned. Well, today, as part of the investigation, police have released new CCTV images of this. This is a red MG SUV type vehicle, which they believe is linked to the shootings.
Nancy, what do we know about the 2 people who were injured?
Well, we know that the 2 men that were shot and injured are currently in a stable condition. They're being treated in hospital. We also know that today, this afternoon, in fact, police have arrested a second individual in connection with the investigation. We know already that a 29-year-old man from Leicester was arrested on Friday in Birmingham. Well, he was released on bail on Saturday. Officers are still urging anyone with information to come forward.
Nancy, thank you very much. People are being warned not to eat a specific chocolate bought from a stall in Mansfield Market. Nottinghamshire police say they've received a number of reports of people feeling unwell after eating the chocolate wrapped in this gold packaging. The force is asking anyone who recognises or bought the product to avoid eating it and to contact them immediately. A multi-million-pound upgrade of the A46 bypass in Newark is both necessary and critical, both for the town and the wider region. That is according to the transport body Midlands Connect, the local MP, and the Chamber of Commerce, who say widening a part of the road would both ease congestion and boost business. Well, the plans are to widen 4 miles of the existing single carriageway to a dual carriageway between Farndon and Winthorpe. Not everyone, though, is in favour of the plans. Alison has been looking at this story in more detail today. Alison.
Well, yes, Steve. Well, yes, the A46 Newark bypass was expected to cost up to £500 million, although National Highways says the predicted cost has now risen above that. Midlands Connect say the upgrade is one of their top top priorities to maintain momentum for the A46 Trans-Midland Trade Corridor. They say the economic boost won't just be felt in Newark, but also more widely across the region. It'll even encourage smooth trade connections between the Humber and the East Midlands free ports with Bristol.
It would help reduce congestion at Newark. That's a very well-known fact. However, in addition to this, it's going to improve the road safety significantly because there are high number of collisions and accidents recorded in that area. It would also help businesses plan their journeys more efficiently, so provide them journey time reliability. It would help in strengthening east-west connectivity because it's located on A46, which is a very important strategic corridor.
Well, the MP for Newark, Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick, is also among those backing the project, which he says is a critical step to ensuring that the region gets the infrastructure investment that he says is so desperately needed. But there are also some concerned by the project. The campaign group Transport Action Network say the scheme would increase carbon emissions, increase air and noise pollution, and result in permanent habitat loss for wildlife.
It's an over-engineered solution, dating back from the last century, and that it will cost a huge amount to deliver. The current cost estimate is £500 million, which is a vast amount of money, and it will just increase traffic and increase carbon emissions, and also, crucially, increase air pollution, which is already very, very bad at Winthorpe Village.
Well, the Department for Transport says that National Highways is preparing its application for the Planning Inspectorate. Work could start as early as 2025.
Thanks, Alison. The time has just gone past 7 minutes past 6. Still to come here on ITV News Central in the East Midlands. The head teacher from Leicester who's won the equivalent of an Oscar in the world of education.
And as we head into the next few days, our temperatures are set to tumble. How low will they go? Join me later and I'll let you know.
The family of a baby from Nottingham whose jaundice wasn't picked up during tests when he was born say his skin colour played a major role in his diagnosis. They're speaking as new research shows tests are outdated and don't take into account those with darker skin tones.
Researchers from the NHS Race and Health Observatory looked into the current test called the APGAR score, which is used by doctors and midwives minutes after a baby is born. The tests look at a newborn's appearance, the pulse, reflexes, activity and respiration. But there are concerns the appearance criteria isn't fit for purpose, as Catherine Walker now reports.
Looking at pictures of their newborn baby brings back painful memories for Matthew and Lauren in Nottingham. Jackson was born with jaundice, but his condition wasn't picked up during newborn tests, leaving him dangerously unwell. The symptoms, like yellow skin, can be more difficult to see in babies with a darker skin tone, and they think his race played a role in his late diagnosis.
The midwife quickly assumed that I was white, as I'm light-skinned as well, so I think it started from there where they just quickly assumed that if one look of Jackson and me, he would be Caucasian, which I think it was very naive of him.
Historically, skin colour has been used to assess the health of newborn babies. But new research now suggests this method isn't accurate, especially for people from ethnic minority backgrounds.
The most commonly used neonatal assessment tools are not really fit for purpose, especially with the APGAR score. One of the terminologies being used, pink all over, it seems to be not applicable to any ethnic minority background, let alone black or Asian background.
The report calls for guidelines that refer to skin colour to be updated and for the increased use of screening devices.
Yes, how's the baby getting on?
The baby's doing really well, clinically improving.
Consultant Dr. Oddy, who helped with the research, wants to see these changes introduced urgently.
we're very keen that people think carefully about how they teach their colleagues to make assessments of babies, and we've suggested various improvements in how that might occur. And so we're excited about people using machines more to answer the question, if it comes up, is this patient perhaps a bit on the blue side, or perhaps they might have some jaundice.
But with figures showing that neonatal deaths are more likely in babies from ethnic minority backgrounds, health campaigner Safar Haque from Leicester says more needs to be done to tackle inequalities in maternity care.
It's really important that they take action as soon as possible, because this has been going on for a long time. They need to identify the problems and make sure that the necessary checks are done on babies before they leave hospital, and it saves them coming back into hospital a few days later, which does happen quite regularly.
In a statement, the government said maternity care must be at the same high standard for everyone, and they are exploring options to improve tests for newborns. But until baby screenings are suitable for everyone, Matthew and Lauren worry that babies with darker skin tones like Jackson could be misdiagnosed. Catherine Walker, ITV News.
And just to reassure you, we know that little Jackson is doing OK.
Well, to find out more about this issue, I spoke to Professor Habib Naqvi from the NHS Race and Health Observatory, the organisation that discovered these newborn baby tests were inadequate. I began by asking him why has it taken so long to identify this issue.
Well, firstly, it's important to acknowledge that tests that judge the health of a baby moments after birth are an important way to identify when things may not be going well. And at the same time, we know that these tests are often limited and not fit for purpose for Black, Asian and minority ethnic babies. And some of these tests have been around for over 70 years. The APGAR score, for example, judging the health of a baby partly based upon the colour of its skin, was not right in 1952 when the test was rolled out, and certainly not right today in 2023. And that's one of the reasons why we commissioned this review, looking at these historical tests to see whether they are fit for purpose. And our recommendations are very clear, including, for example, the diversification of education and training for healthcare professionals on these matters, having more diverse and inclusive assessments, and utilising medical assessments and devices and tests more routinely than just relying upon subjective observations on skin colour, for example.
Yeah, so speaking of tests for, more suitable for people of different skin colours and tones, I mean, how easy is it going to be to implement this?
Well, it's a matter of making sure that we do not have a one-size-fits-all approach. And so we have been working with the national bodies, the organisations that develop tests, the organisations that oversee the delivery of care. And those organisations are now working with us to take these recommendations forward.
And just briefly, do you have any advice for any parents or would-be parents watching this who might be concerned that this could affect their baby?
Well, the advice would be to speak to your healthcare professional, your health visitor, your midwife, nurse and GP, and ask those very fundamental questions around testing and whether or not these tests are fit for purpose for the baby.
Professor Habib Naqvi, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, it's time now to meet an award-winning head teacher who has received a very special honour. Farham Adam, head teacher at Crown Hills Community College in Leicester, was one of 4 from across the country to be awarded Head Teacher of the Year in a secondary school at the Pearson National Teaching Awards.
And as you can see, he is here with us now, and it's terrific to have you here. Just tell me, what did the students make of you winning this award?
Well, to be honest with you, I think it's shocked the community. It shocked me. I think it shocked the staff. I just think it was so unexpected. There was a mystery reveal when we had the award presented to us, and the students just stood up and clapped and cheered. And that was for me was the best moment of it all.
Did you know they'd entered you?
No, I knew they had entered me at some point. At the beginning, I didn't, because it was done blind, which was nice to know afterwards, because 2 colleagues felt that I deserved this. And then it went through to a judging panel, and they decided, okay, that needs to be shortlisted. They then decided to come to school and interview colleagues, students, staff, governors, etc. And on the basis of that, they made their decision.
And what were the key attributes, do you think? I know you're going to be a bit modest here, but what won it for you?
What won it for me, from what I've heard colleagues talk about, is we try and not put any barriers on our students. A lot of our students come from difficult backgrounds, come from, are refugees, some of them, are living in very difficult circumstances. But what we say to them is that's not an excuse for you not to achieve, and we try and remove as many barriers in our students as possible. And we try and say this glass ceiling that may exist, it doesn't exist for you, and we're going to try and help you to be the best that you can be. We give them a good quality education. We have staff that work extremely hard, but we also try and prepare them for society. So, for example, we take them to the food bank and they serve, families that are really well less off, so they get to empathise and understand. We take them into the community and we do litter picking, but we also do the other extreme where we do fencing as part of our clubs and after-school events, so that when our students, if they go to Oxford and Cambridge, they can hold a conversation, sit down with somebody and be able to say, you know what, I'm your equal. I'm not someone who is further behind than you. So these are the kind of things that we do as a school. And it's not just me. I have incredibly hard-working staff which support us.
We were briefly chatting earlier, and Alison asked you a really good question. How many different languages in your school? Just tell us again.
We have over 46 different languages.
Wow. That is amazing.
And we had one student that came to us from Syria as a refugee. In year 8, no English whatsoever. And within 4 years, left with the highest grades within the school. He performed his other...
And you say yourself you can associate a tough beginning for you as arriving in this country.
So yeah, my parents came from abroad. My dad came from Zimbabwe to avoid the war. My mum came from the Seychelles, beautiful part of the world, but came to become a midwife. And they didn't have much money, but they understood the power of education. And they said to me, your circumstances shouldn't dictate where you end up in life. I remember not being able to afford a pint of milk and having to put patches on our clothes, because that's just our beginnings were. But me sat here in front of you today tells you that, your background shouldn't determine where you end up. And that's the message we give to our students. You can be whatever you want to be. And I think the most powerful part of this award is that I can say to my students, look, I share the same background as you. I share the same neighbourhood as you. I live amongst you. If I can do this, then what we're selling to you is not just a dream, it's actually a reality. And I think those are the most powerful messages that our students can pick up from this.
Just briefly, maybe it's because of that inspirational note you have, but I know that Ofsted have said a lot of schools have struggled since the pandemic because children got out of the habit of school. It kind of broke that agreement with parents and schools. Have you been affected by that? Have you seen a downturn in behaviour? And if not, just briefly, how have you tackled it?
And not only that, I think Leicester was in lockdown for the longest, and therefore, the knock-on effect could have been quite detrimental to us. But I think we have the systems in place. And again, because of that expectation, we've said to our students, you're going to come in, and the moment you walk into the door, we're going to look after you, we're going to wrap around the care, we're going to have counselling, we're going to have people that are there to support you, but we're also going to expect of you. And we're going to have tough love conversations. So if you do step out of line, we are going to hold you to account, but we're going to love you at the same time.
And I can tell you're approachable, which is not my memory of head teachers a very long time ago. Thank you for coming in today, and congratulations on your win.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, from one award winner to another now, and a village schoolboy from Leicestershire. Leicester's doing all right tonight. Has won a world scooter title. Bruno Bartams from Scaffold near Melton Mowbray scooped first prize in the age 6 and under category.
Well, over 70 competitors took part from around the world in the International Scooter Federation Youth World Championships, and they happened at Corby in Northamptonshire. Our reporter Jane Hesketh went to see him in action at his local skate park.
These are the winning moves which earned Bruno first place in the under-6 category of the Youth World Championships. He loves riding his scooter and practices regularly at the skate park in Melton Mowbray.
I started scootering when I was 4, and I love about it, I think it's fun because it has wheels and you scoot around.
They're really quite high, these ramps, aren't they? How does it feel when you get to the top?
A bit scary. I just challenge myself. I said to myself, should I do it or not?
Clearly his inner self says go for it. Bruno was up against stiff competition at the international scooter event, but he kept his nerve.
Next year I'm going to be in the under 8. They had to go into this, then they called out my name to go down. Then you had to do 2 ones for 1 minute. Then it was the time for the judges, and they called out my name. I came first on the stage.
Oh, it was terribly exciting, obviously. Although he'd done really, really well and he'd landed all his tricks and he'd worked really, really hard to get there. You just never know whether it's going to come up on the day or whether his name's going to be called, and it was very exciting.
Bruno's already focused on next year's competition and beyond.
He's really, really into it. He wants to continue. He wants to be a professional scooter rider when he's older. That's what he said. And as long as he's got a passion for it and he wants to do it, then we will support him in doing that. And if he wants to do something else, he'll do something else.
Doesn't look like there's much chance of that. Jane Hesketh, ITV News, Melton Mowbray in Leicestershire.
I bet he's had a few bumps along the way.
Looks painful. Well, from the amazing award winners of Farhan and Bruno there to the equally inspirational Dan with the weekend sport action and another good weekend for Leicester.
Yeah, I'm sorry about the downturn there. Yes, it was. And it was all sparked by Jamie Vardy punching himself in the face. We'll show you that and what happened next in a moment. But the Foxes now have a 3-point gap at the top of the table.
Zero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
Derby County and Leicester City both got crucial wins to give their promotion hopes a boost this weekend. Peter Behan's roundup starts in the Premier League, though, with a goal fest at Nottingham Forest.
Brighton roared back to take a 2-1 lead into the break, and early in the second half they extended their advantage. Forest were given hope when Callum Hudson-Odoi won a penalty with the help of VAR. On to the Championship, where Leicester returned to winning ways. It looked like it wasn't going to be their day when Jamie Vardy missed this sitter, a wasted chance he was so angry about, he quite literally beat himself up about it. But 2 minutes later, he made amends, that poacher instinct as strong as ever. Then, in added time, the Foxes' number 9 went down in the box. Watford keeper Daniel Bachmann was sent off. Their subs all used up. A makeshift goalie had to face Vardy from the spot. But not even a proper keeper is saving that. Leicester go 3 points clear at the top. This result moves Derby up into the League One playoff places. They had a helping hand to set them on their way, a Bristol Rovers defender turning into his own net. The visitors looked to have stolen a point when former Ram Chris Martin made it all square. But Paul Warne's men would go on to make it 3 league wins on the bounce. Michael Skubala's first game as Lincoln manager got off to a great start. Danny Mandroiu scoring from the spot after just 5 minutes. The visitors hit back with 2 second-half goals. TJ Ioma, though, salvaged a point for his new boss with just 2 minutes left on the clock. Notts County were on the wrong end of a 6-goal thriller. 2 down at the break, Macaulay Langstaff was at it again as they mounted a spirited comeback. Aaron Nemain then brought them level and it was game on. The home side were able to pull away again though, Ali Al-Hamadi sealing the points in added time. Mansfield's long unbeaten run is finally over. Lucas Akins had them level early in the second half. It would take an almighty goalmouth scramble in the 93rd minute to consign them to that first defeat. But the Stags remain in the top 3.
Yeah, quite a mixed weekend for our team, so not much to choose from for goal of the weekend this weekend, but it goes to Nathaniel Mendez-Lang of Derby County. Congratulations to him and the man who set this up, Tyrese Forner. Great pressing from him, and then he races away down the right-hand side before eventually finding a perfect pass for Mendes Lang, who scored that crucial goal for Derby. They've won at 4 of the last 5 now. They're in pretty good form. Not the most spectacular goal of the weekend. I expect better next time out. Now to some ice hockey, and Nottingham Panthers returned to league action last night for the first time since the death of their player Adam Johnson. Panthers lost the match against Belfast Giants, but what about this for a goal from Jake Rizak? A reminder of the joy that this sport can give to both players and fans. Well, that's your sport for tonight. Before I go, mixed results in the rugby for Leicester Tigers and a double header at Gloucester. The men won, but the women lost. So let's hope they can both win next weekend, when for the first time they will both be playing on the same day at Welford Road.
That would be great, wouldn't it, if for both the men's and the women's game, if they can get the result. Just briefly, Dan, I'm not one to stick the boot into managers, and Steve Cooper is a man who I've met and I really like him. But is the pressure mounting on him at all? I'm just looking at the results. 3 wins this season. A lot of draws, but you would be hoping for more, wouldn't you?
I mean, they're clear of the relegation zone. I'm not sure what the ambitions are of Forest, really. There are a lot of clubs with similar sort of finances to them. They've got a couple of easy fixtures coming up. They need to get a win soon.
Yeah, well, let's hope that happens. Yeah,
let's hope they do that. But meanwhile, let's take a look at the weather forecast with Des.
ITV Central Weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles. Car, charger and energy.
Well, today wasn't the best day that we've seen. Certainly grey and damp, a little bit dry once we got into the afternoon, but it continued to be fairly cloudy and cold. When you add on the wind chill, it felt much colder than the 5 degrees. Now, we've relatively got mild air on top of us today, but ultimately, as you can see by the screens turning blue, it's going to become colder as we head towards Friday. It is low-pressure systems that are dotted around the UK. What they're not doing is throwing over rain-bearing fronts. We are going to see showers. I think the main problem about our weather is going to be the cold air. By the time we get to Thursday and Friday, that's where things change. There's a question mark onto this system, how far north it pushes. So let's talk about our weather story as we head into the overnight. And we're still going to continue to see these showers. In fact, they energise just a touch as we head into the overnight story. Temperatures dipping down to around 2 and 3 degrees. The winds fall light. That means you could wake up to some frost, especially in the more rural areas. A cold night ahead. Waking up tomorrow morning, that cloud is on top of us as you get up first thing. But if you get up around 9, 10 o'clock, you're in for a very pleasant surprise. Lots in the way of blue skies and dry conditions. A very pleasant day over the course of tomorrow. But again, it's going to feel cold as that air comes down only at a gentle pace from the north. Temperatures maxing out at around 5 degrees. When you add on the wind chill, it's going to feel more like 2. I'm going to leave you with the summary. And like I say, when it comes to our weather story for the rest of the week, generally settled. We are going to see a number of showers, but it is feeling cold. Average around 3 degrees. And by the time we get into the overnights, we could be seeing -2 or even -3.
ITV Central Weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles.
Going to get chilly. Now, just before we go, there is some top musical talent coming to Derby. Tom Jones, Madness and Becky Hill will all be headlining at the city's first ever Summer Sessions Music Festival next year.
Well, yes, the 3-day event will run from the 12th to the 14th of July at Mark Eaton Park. The festival will hold up to 15,000 people, and organisers say it'll be a momentous occasion for the whole city. Well, I remember when I used to report from the East Midlands, I used to go down to the Download Festival.
Oh yes, big one.
And I used to like interviewing people in their tents and various things that were. But the Download Festival was a bit noisy, but I did enjoy reporting on it. But I suppose I'm a little bit more in favour of a folk festival.
You have been to one of those. I love a rock festival. And those 3 acts, actually, what a variety. Madness, Tom Jones and Becky Hill.
Jones.
Yeah,
well,
don't start singing, it's not unusual. Let's go. That's it from us. The ITV Evening News is up next. Have a lovely evening.
Good night.
Bye-bye.